What's up, QC users? This is Steve Strelacci, and I took my QC on tour this week and wanted to share my gigging preset with you. I'm going to put this up on my website, stevestrelacci.com. If you want to purchase it, you could follow me on the cloud. I've got a ton of free stuff up there, at Stalach, S-T-A-L-A-C-H. So if you want to check out some of the gear I've got a bunch of captures up there if you want to check them out. But I am going to show you all of the effects so you can copy all the effects. But if you want to check out the captures, they'll be for sale just in this preset on my website, stevestrelacci.com. You can also find information about the Silent Stage podcast, which is a podcast that I just started based around digital amp modeling and digital guitar gear in general. I just had Rabia Masad on, and his episode is going to be dropping very soon. And yeah, anticipation of the 3.0 update's been real. So I wanted to throw this preset video together and show you how I'm using my QC Live. So this is my kind of do-it-all preset. I stay on this one preset all night long. And for me, what I do, it's got the bare bones basics of everything that I personally need. I've got 3 levels of gain, an always-on compressor, tremolo, modulated reverb, slapback delay, analog delay, and my solo boost button. So we're going to run through briefly what these are and how I operate my QC. I do a couple of things, not exactly in a conventional way. So one thing in particular that I always do is that I keep my volumes low. So I want my max volume to be around my bypass volume. So if you see on my amp here, this is my Samson era DC30. So this is the rare matchless Samson era, the earlier matchless years. This is a DC30 set to an edge of breakup sound. And you'll see I bring it all the way down to -12. And this is something I do with all of my captures that you'll see here. I feel like they sound different when they're all the way up. So I've got the ODR, I've got my drive pedals here. This is a Nordland ODRC. This is the original guy that invented the Nobles pedals that made his own, my favorite overdrive pedal. This is my always on overdrive. And then from there, I have a Prince of Tone, my actual Prince of Tone from Analog Man. And you'll notice all of these have subtractions in the volume area. So let's just bypass the compressor for now, bypass that. And I'll show you what I mean here. So this is my basic raw amp sound. And now when I bypass that, I'm kind of close to the same level. And that's how I feel like the modelers want to run. I think if they're amplifying your signal too much, you're putting I feel like it just sounds different. So if I just go from here and I make this 0, I feel like I'm suddenly getting a lot more of a harsher sound. I don't know if it's, I don't know what it is. Scientifically, mathematically, whatever. But for some reason, I feel like capture's brought down a little bit, just takes a little bit of the edge off. And it's doing less to your guitar signal. It's not amplifying your guitar as much. Anyway, just how I kind of operate with all the modelers. So yeah, that is my basic amp sound though. So this is my DC30. And this is my Nags K-A-J. These are Mojo Tone noiseless P90s. This is my main touring guitar that I'm going to be taking with me all year. Let's get to first in the chain now, shall we? This is my compressor. This is the legendary 87. You can copy these settings if you want. This is kind of just barely going to do anything. You see the gain reduction meters kind of barely move. I've got it set to be really fast attack, really slow release, and plenty of makeup gain. So it's not really volume-wise adding a ton. But that's been my go-to sound as far as it's always on. The compressor is always on. I never turn it off. I don't even need a foot switch for it, to be honest. Moving on to my ODRC. So this is labeled ODRC main. This is my always on sound. So I never turn this off unless it's a super crystal clean part. This is my go-to gig sound that I keep on pretty much the entire night. Rhythms, leads, everything is on this sound. Who picks A flat to just start messing? So this kind of covers everything, basic chords like It's got clarity, fatness, balls, everything that me personally that I want. Next up is my Prince of Tone, and typically I'll combine these two together. And these two sound so good together that I don't need to do a lot to it. Again, I feel like the volume with the Prince of Tone, I get this artificial graininess in the highs when it's up, so I like to keep it lower. Maybe it's just me. If you don't hear a difference, then there is none, I guess. But that's me, how I run my drive section. And now the reason I don't use scenes. So this whole setup is in stomp mode, and that's strategically because I don't do preset sounds anymore. I used to be obsessive over scenes and having every sound dialed in perfectly. But nowadays, I like to be a little bit more freeform. If I'm feeling like this wants reverb today, I'm going to put reverb on it. If it feels like it needs delay today, I'm going to do it. So this is kind of an open canvas type of thing. That's why I'm in stomp mode. The only trickery is going to be happening in the solo boost, which we'll get to in a little bit. And that's also why I can't use scenes with this setup. I can't set up, I need to solo or have a lead boost from each level of gain. So if I have everything off, I can't set up a solo scene and then add a drive pedal, and have solo scenes for each level of gain. So that's why I'm not using scenes, if you're wondering. But what I do is I throw all these effects on at different points in the set. So first, I've got this slapback, regular slapback delay. Here's those settings. You want to rip them off, feel free to. So it does the slapback thingy, and now I've got the mod depth at 30. So if I actually ring a chord out, I'll get a little bit of modulation on there where it's like a little bit of, hey, what's happening? Nothing that's going to intrude with anything else, but it almost sounds like you're kind of like wiggling the guitar neck, getting some extra sound, extra movement to the notes. I'm the lone electric guitar player most of the time until our singer Jessica picks up an electric, but for most of the night I'm alone. So having that little extra movement to the sound fills up more space. Next up, I've got analog delay. This I'll kick on for solos and ambient parts. So this is the settings here. Got about 4 or 5 repeats. Again, with the mod depth up, so you get a lot of action happening with the repeat. And they're also really dark. So look at the low pass. It's all the way down. So that you can only hear my delay when I do that. Any other time you hear my delay, it's just a wash underneath the note. So if I'm playing anything, so it'll wash under stuff. In a really musical way, in my opinion. And I've got my modulated reverb, which I just kick on to taste. So this is my always on plate reverb that you've been hearing. And I don't even turn it off when I go to modulated. I just add the modulated on top of it. Just a little bit. I mean, who doesn't want a little bit more reverb sometimes? Great for ambient parts. And now my tremolo. This is not anything crazy tremolo-wise. I'm not going for any dramatic tremolo. Not really going for the spaghetti western tremolo. It's kind of just a extra, like I said before, extra movement to the note. I love that about the ODRCs that I can clean up. And now I'll go through any combination of all of these at any point. So if I've got an ambient part, I'll leave the ODRC on because I like that little bit of distortion. Kick the tremolo on now. To get a whole mixed bag of tricks there. Now with the 2 drive pedals, I'll throw this on for a more rock solo, something that's really got to sing. So you see how the notes don't really lose any clarity, but you get that extra wash under it. I love this sound. This is so fun to play over. And now, finally, the main event is the solo boost. We're going to have to talk about this in Cortex control here. So one other reason why I can't use a scene for this, and I would love if QC ever implements parameter controls, because that would be ideal here. Instead of using a utility gain block, which I've got about 3 dB, hitting the front end of the amp. So basically, that's not really adding volume, but it's adding gain into the front end. So I'm not really depending on that to boost my volume, but I'm using it to boost my gain a little bit. So I get a little bit more gain to solo with. And then after that, I've got this parametric EQ, which is kind of strategic in a couple of ways. I've got a little bit of a low cut, a low shelf, which is going to just kind of slap out some of the mud and help me cut through the mix. I've got a boost around 763, 750 is usually like that tube screamer clon area. And I've got this big cut. So I've got a 4,500 hertz cut and a really sharp Q. So this is where it was getting spiky. So I was soloing with this boost and I was like, man, there's a really harsh bit to this. And that is where I thought it was. So I kind of navigated my way around using the parametric EQ, sweep around, find where it doesn't sound good, and then cut it out. And I've got the output set to 3 dB, which is now going to shoot me up on top of the mix. I missed my low high cuts. So skipping back to this is just a low and high cut. I keep it at about 5,200, and the low pass, the high pass, I really don't do much with. So those are just always on. It's best to keep a high cut around anytime you're playing live with a different sound guy, because you never know the type of room you're in or the type of PA. Might be too bright. Might be too muddy. Having these just handy is always nice. So here's the solo boost with no other effects. I'll show you a gig view here. So you hear the solo boost jumps you out on top, but also doesn't get harsh. And there's no mistaking what I'm soloing with this boost. It's meant to jump on top. We don't travel with a regular front of house engineer, so I'm basically depending on myself to ride myself for my leads and for my solos. So it's super important for this to be heard. And this is going to rip someone's face off in the right context. So out of context, it probably sounds like a gigantic bump, but in the context of the band, this solo boost is perfect. Trust me. And you could steal my settings. I don't care, even though I said that I'll sell you the captures, but the settings of all the pedals are yours to do whatever you want with. So now here is a combination of everything. This is kind of like an epic solo sound that I would use in a kind of classic rock sense. So that does it for the gigging preset. If you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.